How's it going, guys? So I'm back. I've been asked a lot to compare these two phones. So we have the Moto X Pure Edition against the Nexus 6, both Motorola products. Of course, Nexus 6 came out last year. Moto X Pure Edition just came out, and they're pretty similar. So we're gonna talk about the similarities. Of course, they both follow the same design language. So if you look at the top, they're pretty similar. You have headphone jack, same spot, SIM card tray. Of course, with the Moto X Pure Edition, you can put an SD card there for extra memory, so that's an advantage there. They switched out. They went from a ring flash to a dual tone flash, which another advantage here is the dual tone flash is much better than the ring flash. Just the colors and everything is just much better with that. They also went from a 13 megapixel camera to a 21 megapixel camera. The Nexus 6 did have OIS, so it does do slightly better in low light than the Moto X, but overall the Moto X camera has been vastly improved. One of the top cameras out right now, definitely top 10, top 5 even, I believe, or is it 6th place actually. So it was just not bad for a $400 phone. It takes great pictures. The only thing that it's not the best in low light, but in regular lighting it can definitely stand up to the best of them. And then if we look at the front, we have a 5 megapixel camera with the flash here. We have I believe it's a 2 megapixel camera on the Nexus 6, but trust me, the front camera, if you don't take selfies then you won't care about this, but the front camera here is way better, and you got a flash as well, not dual tone, but you do got a flash in the front for taking selfies at night. Go back to the back real quick. So another thing is Moto X, you can customize it, do whatever you want. Nexus 6, you can't really do that. That's why I just got this skin here. Otherwise, it comes in blue or black or white. So of course, here right now I have the Nexus 6 running on Marshmallow. This is still on Lollipop. Marshmallow should be coming soon for it, hopefully within the coming weeks. Another difference too, design wise, I'm not sure why they did this, but if you look at here, the micro USB, they flip-flopped it. I'm not sure why. I mean, these phones came out, at least even with the second gen, it was faced this way, but Nexus 6 was always facing that way. So it's kind of weird because I used both of them last year, switching between the two, having to relearn how I charge the phone. Of course, with USB Type-C, that's no longer an issue, but these two phones still have micro USB. And then of course, design wise, this has got a 6-inch display. They're both Quad HD. This has a 5.7. This is AMOLED LCD. I actually prefer AMOLED displays, but of course Motorola didn't do an AMOLED display for this year with the Moto X Pure Edition. Downside to that is the active display doesn't look as good as it did last year. But they're both really good displays. The Moto X does get a little bit brighter, of course. This is gonna be preference. So with the LCD, you can have a more accurate display, and the whites are whiter. But with the AMOLED display, it's a lot of contrast. It's very saturated. Colors just pop. They look good. It's not gonna be accurate, but it looked good. And also, it's got way deeper blacks, so the blacks will look really good on it. But they both got very nice displays. Of course, this is much more one-handed friendly. As you can tell, the bezels much thinner on the Moto X Pure Edition. This is definitely more one-handed friendly. You still do a little bit of shimmying with the Moto X, but definitely not as much as you'll have to do the Nexus 6. So I mean, you are getting a slightly bigger display with the Nexus 6. Performance-wise, they're about the same. Marshmallow has definitely helped out with performance on the Nexus 6. It's faster than it was before. Battery life to me is about the same. But I actually get better battery life out of the Moto X. I believe the standby time is very good. And Doze feature will help this up, but the thing is, Doze doesn't really affect me much, at least not with my daily driver. If I left the Nexus 6 sitting and Doze kicked in, but Doze takes a little bit of time to kick in, and with how I use my phone, it's not gonna kick in all the time. So this is a versus battle. So why would you pick the Nexus 6? I'm gonna tell you guys right now, the clear winner is gonna be the Moto X. It's got the definitely wins with the camera. Both cameras are much better on the Motorola X Pure Edition. Even without the OIS, the camera does a way better job. It takes amazing pictures. It's one of the best cameras out. If we're going to talk about design wise, this is definitely more one-handed friendly, and this one definitely doesn't even fit in my cup holder, but it's not It's not the hardest phone to use. I mean, I still find this easier to use than the iPhone 6 Plus, and you're getting a 0.5-inch size upgrade compared to that one. But this is, you're only losing at 0.3, and this is easily more one-handed friendly. Speakers, they're both amazing. You know, you're getting dual front speakers, so you can't really complain either way about that. Battery life, I get better battery life on the Moto X. Some people might get better battery life on the Nexus 6. It might also depend on which carrier you're using it on, but on Verizon, I was getting better battery life. I used them both on Verizon, and I was getting better battery life out of this. The standby time is definitely better on this, and will only be improved with those. Now we can talk about software. So of course, both of them are stock Android. So which one would you go with? Then you go with the Nexus 6 if you want to be like the first to get it. Of course, I've been running Marshmallow for over a week now with the Nexus 6, and any phone other than the Nexus, you will have to wait a little bit. But with the Moto X, it should be shorter than the other carriers. But still, with the Moto X, you have the Moto Actions. You know, you can twist to launch the camera, and that's an awesome feature, which was rumored to be on the new Nexus 6P, but they took it out just with, now they're doing the double tap power button to launch the camera, which is okay, I guess. And of course, you can do it one more time, and that'll switch to front camera, which is pretty dope. So that feature is nice, and of course, you can the chop to turn on the flashlight. That's also awesome. These are features that if you use the phone with these features, it's kind of hard to go to one without them. So last year I had the Moto X, the 2nd gen, and then I got the Nexus 6. I used the Nexus 6 for a couple of weeks, but then I ended up going back to the Moto X. Even though it had the smaller display, worse camera, and everything, the Motorola features, especially active display. There's ambient display on the Nexus 6, but with ambient display, you can't wave over it like that to see your notifications. And of course, if you're playing music as well, if you're playing music with the Moto X, let's just play whatever comes on. You know, with active display has added features to it. When you're looking at the Nexus 6, they added ambient display last year, but it's the same this year. They didn't really add much to it. So of course now with this, now that it's playing, I can actually pause, and then I can wave over it again, and I can go to the next song, which is dope. You know, they added functionality to ambient display, which makes it nice, and you can wave your hands over it. So software wise, they're both stock Android. You're gonna get Android, the newest version of Android first for the Nexus 6, but with Motoro's little additions, it's definitely a pleasure to use, and it doesn't get in the way. So I would say the Nexus 6 is still a good buy. I mean, you can get this phone for under $300. That's not a bad buy at all. But the clear winner is definitely the Motorola Pure Edition, because you're getting a phone that you can customize. You're getting a better camera. It's one-handed friendly, very easy to use one-handed. It's a beautiful phone. I mean, they're both designed pretty much the same, but like I said, you're getting a better camera, better flash, better, you know, slimmer design, slimmer bezel, so just much easier to use in one-handed. So it all depends on how much you're looking to spend and what you need. So look at design, the Moto X is the winner here. If we look at cameras, the Moto X is again the winner. If we're looking at specs, of course, the Moto X is the winner here as well. This is the 805, 808. You know, they're both running. They both have 3 gigabytes of RAM. Quality, both the same. Software-wise, I would say the Moto X wins. You know, some articles have said that the Moto X does Android better than Google. I mean, that makes sense because it's stock Android plus with some added features that just enhance the experience, and you gotta appreciate that. One thing too, while we're talking about software, ambient display, like I said, it still hasn't been updated. I found it going off in my pocket a lot. Like, since I have this on my my notifications at all times, and every night my Bluetooth kept getting turned off because ambient display would activate in my pocket, and then it would kind of like, this would touch against my leg and it would turn off my Bluetooth. So my Moto 360 would be disconnected, and I would never even have any idea. And I was trying to figure out, why did that keep on happening? I thought it was an issue with Android Wear, but I realized ambient display kept on going off in my pocket. So the one I would pick is the Moto X for more reasons. The only reason I would say to get a Nexus 6 is if you only have $300 to spend, or if you have to have the next version of Android first. Otherwise, the Moto X Pure Edition is essentially what the Nexus 6 should have been. When I was watching the announcement when this phone was announced, that's all I kept thinking, is like, that's what the Nexus 6 should have been. The Nexus 6, when it came out, yes, big 6-inch display, but definitely, definitely, you know, a hard phone to use. I can use it fine one-handed, but most people can't. You know, I can mostly get around most of it, but I use things like Nova Launcher, since I don't have to keep going up like this all the time. So with Nova Launcher, I can just kind of do this. That's a glitch right there. When Nova Launcher, they need to update that. You see how slow that comes down. But anyways, I can do that to get to my notifications a little bit faster. So there are ways around it using a big phone on Android, but this phone is just way easier to use and better spec. The only downside I would say is this is LCD instead of AMOLED, but even so, it's still a nice, beautiful display. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Two great phones, but this is definitely, like I said, this is what the Nexus 6 should have been. And it's 1 year later, it's updated specs, better camera, better design, fully customizable, stock Android, works on all carriers just like the Nexus 6 does, and now Motorola has one device, so updates should come very, very quick on this beauty. I'll see you guys on the next one.